It's called The Many Saints of Newark. That's going to be the name of the movie.
The Many, M-A-N-Y?
The Many Saints
M-I-N-I.
of Newark. M-A-N-Y, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not the miniature saints. Like they're all cast as like little people. Hey!
I'm James Gandolfini. Yeah.
I like that idea better. I want to see the mini saints.
I don't think you know what kind of family you're messing with here.
You mess with the Lollipop Guild, you're gonna get it.
Yeah, I'm down to see that. I'm actually just right now. I'm on season 7 of The Sopranos. I started rewatching it maybe a week or two ago, and I'm just blazed through the whole fucking thing. I'm getting toward the part where it's starting to get sad, you know. By that 7, not that the show is in decline, because I think 7 seasons is quite strong. It's just that like, things are falling apart here. This is about to get rough.
What's happening?
Right now, Tony has sort of sided with his brother-in-law, Bobby Bacalari, and he's sort of made him his second in command, the guy he wants to filter everything through, and taking Christopher out of that position. And Christopher's getting shit on a lot because, you know, he's finally got his sobriety under control. But the way he's accomplished that is really removing himself from the group dynamic. So he's not hanging out at the Bada Bing strip club. He's not hanging out at the Satrielli's pork store with that big case of beer in there. And it's really like rubbing everybody against him in a way, because he's kind of not part of the crew anymore, not part of the social dynamic anymore. And meanwhile, in New York, Phil Leotardo has, it was just the anniversary of his brother who was killed by Tony's cousin, Tony, Uncle Al, and he's sitting there like saying to himself, he's like, we've been pushed around since the moment we came to Ellis Island, and they took our name Leonardo away and called us Leotardo. As soon as we got here, they took our name. No more will we be pushed around. He's just like plotting to like be shitty to Tony and eventually kill Tony if he can. I don't know. It's getting to the part where it's like, Tony's peaked. We're kind of heading down. He's got like maybe 1 or 2 more fun episodes in him, and then it's kind of Danger Close mode.
Yeah, but Danger Close mode's the intensity's high, and I like it.
It is.
It's good.
And characters start just getting fucking murdered left and right.
Episode where he runs from the FBI, maybe through the snow for a long. I like that one.
Yeah, season 5. Probably the finale of season 5, I think.
It's weird to me though. It's like if he can just get back home, he's safe now.
Well, they didn't know he was there. They didn't see him, and he wasn't doing anything. He hadn't committed a crime, and he wasn't part of the warrant. He was just at Johnny Sack's house. So, but I love that when he's just like trudging through the wilderness, like his fancy suit's getting more and more like torn apart.
He has slippery dress shoes on in the snow.
Yeah, he's got those shoes Chiz had on our survival trip. He's slipping on the rocks. They're all soaked in water. He literally walks all the way home through the wilderness. Yeah, that's a good episode, and that's a good scene. My favorite episode is called The Pine Barrens, and it's where Christopher and Paulie end up like antagonizing this Russian who was in the special forces, beating him half to death, throwing him in the trunk of the car, and then driving him off to the Pine Barrens, which is like South New Jersey, where it's all wooded areas.
I used to camp there.
They're gonna bury him out in those woods. Well, they open the trunk and he's still fucking alive. So Paulie's like, no big deal. We'll just march him at gunpoint out here and make him dig his own grave. Well, again, he was in the special forces, so he dings Christopher in the head with a shovel and makes a run for it. And Paulie shoots him in the head. Well, he just takes a headshot and then vanishes.
I can do that in Tarkov sometimes.
That's my favorite episode because Christopher and Paulie end up these city mobster types lost in the woods in a snowy winter New Jersey night, shivering and crying. And Paulie's got like Tic Tacs that he's eating and like not sharing. And Christopher finds some like ketchup packets and he's like, what you got? Ketchup packets? Are they clean? Because Paulie's a germ freak. It's hilarious.
Not start for some reason. I don't recall.
They find a van to like hide out in the woods, and they sort of like rip the carpets up and huddle in there. When they get back to their car, it's been stolen. So like, and that never comes back around. That's one of the real fucking threads that's left dangling, and you never get to. Like, I wish at the end that had been part of the story. I've talked about it before. How I would have preferred Sopranos to end, where because all of Tony's money that he's hidden is through a Russian guy, and it's hidden overseas. Like, I'd have liked that to be part of the show because he's got millions of dollars stashed overseas in the islands or something that he filtered through a Russian bank through the guy that these guys murdered's best friend. And they never found a body, and the car was missing. So it's sort of suggested that maybe this guy looped around, got in the car, and disappeared. You don't know what happened.
Yeah. I do wish, I hate it when shows have unaccounted for threads like that, but in this one, maybe it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and that is my favorite episode, despite the loose thread.
There's
so
one
whatever.
scene in there where Chris shoots the gun so poorly that it ruined the whole 8 years for me, or what I think it's 8 years. Their gunsmanship, gung fu, I don't know what to call it, but he shoots the gun and he kind of pushes it forward with every shot, like pa-pow, pa-pow, pa-pow. This actor has never shot a real gun. Now, I understand that mafia guys are not supposed to be special forces guys, but I do expect them to fire a gun before. I do expect them to be able to shoot a person. They do shoot people. I know, maybe usually up close or people who aren't even moving execution style, but look, 10 minutes of practice will have him better at handling guns than that. He was worse than someone who's never fired a gun before.
Yeah.
And that
it's weird firing those blanks, though, especially
it.
the blanks they're using because they don't even cycle the weapon. So I don't know that might look bad, but this might look worse. You know, just their hands fully. You know, I don't know. I feel like I could fake it, but maybe I'm special. I don't know. I just feel like
legitimately are with regards to guns, right? Like you've got your top 1% in gun experience, but
I suppose, but yeah. What bothers me the most about Sopranos that dates it is the fights and the sound effects they use for punches really irk me. It's these stock sound files of like, I don't know, it sounds like somebody just slapping a steak or something. I don't know, just it doesn't sound good. It doesn't seem real. I wish they'd worked on the fight choreography more. It's so much about story, but if you're gonna have a gunfight or a fist fight, like I'd like to not be taken out of the story by that, not looking real.
Paulie in the Sopranos has the same shit in his Cadillac.
Yeah. I remember that. That was good.
Oh man.
Paulie's still kicking it. He's lost like
he died.
No, really?
Paulie from the Sopranos? Yeah, he died like 6 months ago. It was recent.
Are you serious?
Is he the one with the hair, the wings?
Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his fucking name right now?
He had biceps and good hair, right? We're on the same.
But in
the
show,
wings, the wings and the hair.
Yeah.
Oh god damn it! What's his fucking name?
Don't you leave me, Christy!
Jesus Christ! Zach, help me out.
His name is Paulie. No, that's Paulie.
Tony Sirico. Tony Sirico. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Nicely done, Zach.
Yeah, he is in fact dead, Kyle.
Yeah.
There's if you ever need a fucking cheering up, just go on YouTube and pull up like, you know, best Paulie moments from the Sopranos. I mean, his fucking lines, God, it's all gold. Everything he ever said was gold.
His whole character, he's so insecure and I love when they go to collect the money from that Russian in the Pine Barrens episode, and you can tell he's jealous of the Russians' like entertainment system. Like he sees that remote and he's like, I don't have anything this fancy. His face is like, what the fuck is this piece of shit? What? He's like, put remote on docking station. What'd you say? Put remote on docking station. He's like, whoops, and like fucking, it's like glass. This fucking remote control, and like he just picks a fight with the guy.
That pissed me off.
That was one of those OG Universal remotes. Yeah.
That was just a fucking interior decorator from Czechoslovakia trying to live his life.
He's an interior decorator.
You see the inside of his apartment? He looked like shit.
Why did they think he was an interior decorator?
Because Tony's on the phone.
The interior ministry of the Serbians or whatever.
Because Tony's on the phone with Paulie, telling Paulie, like, you got to kill this guy. He can't come back against us. He's like, He was in the fucking interior ministry. He's some kind of a Russian commando. He killed 16 Chechens. And like, and so Paulie is stupid. So he translates that to, yeah, he's an interior decorator. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians.
Jesus, his apartment looked like shit.
No,
That's my favorite.
Steve
episode.
Buscemi directed that episode.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
That was. I think that's probably my top 3 for sure. Sopranos episodes. It's
I like
fucking
that one.
it's banger after banger in that.
The other one I like a lot is called Whoever Did This. That's the episode where Pyomai is dies, and Tony shows up at Ralphie's place, and that's like that might be my second favorite episode. Yeah,
That was
amazing.
Glad you didn't spoil it.
Tony. She was a hooah. That the pronunciation of hooah
Hooah.
on its
It's a
own,
hooah.
that one word catapults that episode into my top 5. The Joe Pantoliano pronunciation of hooah is in the lexicon.
how many
forever now.
syllables is in that word now, sir? Hooah.
70, it's 74 syllables. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just such a
good
great
fucking
show.
episode.
Every time like Tony gets so stressed out, he just goes to the fridge and like starts compulsively eating. I'm always like, I get it.
Deli meats.
Like I know what you're going through now, Tony. You just need that salt. Your blood pressure is dropping down dangerously to a normal range.
He spreads that mayo like he's mad at it. Like he angrily makes it. He's like, motherfucking soup and cheese. And yeah, a little lettuce, sure. A little salami. Fuck you,
I was waiting for the scene where he just takes a bite out of a prosciutto leg, straight up. Like,
He just got a turkey leg over there.
You should have. That would.
I mean,
that
he
would reduce
kind
the
of just
stress.
gave up, like toward the end when he's in sushi mode, and he's like eating it, and you can hear him breathing. He's alone eating it, like, and he's just like,
how do you think that like ADR session went? Do you think they recorded that live, or do you think they had him in the booth? And they go, okay, all right, Tony, take a bite and now breathe out of your mouth for 45 seconds at full pressure.
Sounds like you're having a real hard time with these pieces of nigiri.
James, we need to hear you out of breath. Could you stand up? Thanks. Great.
Yeah.
Gandolfini, hold your breath until I say stop.
Oh God. I can relate. My friend just smuggled a kilogram of prosciutto out of Italy and brought it over to my house and presented it to me as a gift. And I was like, oh. And coincidentally, I got a deli slicer as a wedding present 3 years ago, which if fucking you want to make a splash at someone's wedding, you buy them a goddamn deli
I hid this
slicer.
prosciutto in my ass all the way from Italy, and I will be insulted if you don't even try the prosciutto.
What's prosciutto, and how is it different than all the other random like?
What is it? It's cured. It's a cured pork leg. It's a whole leg of pig that is packed in salt and wrapped in cloth and then hung from a hook at a very specific temperature and humidity for
That way they send a message to all the other pigs. Let them know.
I don't even get
Let
what's
them see.
interesting
Let
about
them
this
see.
pig leg.
Let him see. Let him see.
Like, is there a reason it's better than ham?
Ham is just a horrid cut compared to this. Like it's so much better. So much.
Dry, not smoked and not cured. Dry
Isn't that
cured,
what
according
I
to Zach.
sent you, Taylor? Didn't I send you a leg of something?
You did. You sent me a leg of prosciutto. Wolfed it
Really?
down.
That's
It was
awesome.
delicious.
Yeah.
Was it on one of those like
delicious.
wooden stands?
It was. It came with a wooden stand that I screwed together and put it on, and then it had a little
fucking
knife
best.
with it, or a big saber with it that I sliced
That's the
off.
shit.
And I was telling Kyle at the time, like, it did get to the point where I was taking like hunks out of it. Like I wasn't even going slim. I was like, you know what might be a good idea? Maybe I cut like a pork steak off of this, fry it up for a second. And then I was like, that's pretty trashy of me. Let's not do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it was
the
delicious.
best prosciutto is actually the jamon iberico, which is from Spain. It's even better than the Italian stuff.
Corn-fed pigs.
I finished The Sopranos last night. I was anticipating the end. Like, have you ever gotten to the end of a show? Or I know we've all talked about this. I know we have, where like you get bummed out knowing it's coming to an end. Like the way Kyle described that scene, the end one, where you're like, oh, and then it's just kind of a carousel, revolving door of people coming in, sitting down, like laughing, doing whatever they're doing. And as that was happening, I was having like that feeling of like, oh no, oh, this is really it, isn't it? This is the end of the fucking show. Shit. And I was expecting the mid-sentence cutout thing to be at least a little more obvious than that, instead of him just kind of hearing a ring and then just not even looking up all the way, just like getting to here and then ends. And so, correct me, most people understand, or not understand, assume like, okay, the end there was him right about to get assassinated.
Yep.
That's the understanding.
My understanding is he got assassinated. That he didn't register the bullet or anything, but we see his brain turn off. That's how I interpreted the last scene.
Yeah. But is there any I guess like fan theories of other things that might have happened?
Fan theories don't matter. David Chase has spoken on the matter.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind.
Is that
then. I guess
it?
he's dead.
It's what
Yeah,
Taylor
that's it.
said.
He's dead.
Yeah. They I don't know. I didn't put it together until other people like pointed it out to me.
Killed AJ.
There's a scene on maybe a boat with Bobby Bagliata or something close to that, where Tony was describing how it happens, and he's like, it just goes to black or something. Maybe Kyle, you can do it better than I can.
Yeah. I mean, you pretty much got it. He's like, bet you don't even feel it, huh? Yeah. It's just everything goes black. It's over.
Yeah.
And they're having that discussion because Bobby had never killed anybody. And then, of course, Tony uses that information to his advantage the next day when he sends Bobby to have to go assassinate that guy, that Frenchman, that French Canadian fella, because he knew that was the best way to hurt Bobby.
Yeah, poor Bobby. I
Why
felt
was he
bad for
hurting
him on
Bobby
that.
again?
Because
Bobby beat him up.
Oh.
Bobby beat the shit out of him when they were playing Monopoly or whatever, and Tony was saying that Janice was blowing all the guys under
the boardwalk. With Janice blowing some guy.
Janice is Bobby's
with
wife.
this schlong
Do I have
in
that
Jan's
right?
mouth
Yeah.
under the boardwalk. Yeah. And then Bobby beats the absolute shit out of him. And then you feel bad for Bobby when he was killing that guy, because you could tell like the way like Paulie kills someone is so blasé and who cares that he'll like cap somebody and then just be like, and this motherfucker bled on my brand new shoes. Like, brand new. And he'll like be mad about it. And like Bobby shot that guy. And what I thought, maybe one of you disagrees, is when he walked up to the guy to like put it to his forehead and then shoot him there. It was almost like Bobby taking this way more seriously than the rest of them. Like, if I'm going to take life, I need to take it. I need to know.
He'd never
like,
killed
I'm
anyone
here.
before.
Yeah. And so he takes it with a lot more, solemnity or whatever the word would be, than the other guys who just don't really give a shit, just fucking murdering willy-nilly. The biggest surprises in that show were Chris dying. I did not expect Chris to die. I would have bet. Like, I liked Bobby so much that I knew he was going to die at some point.
Seemed like an untouchable
Chris,
character.
Yeah, I was like, it was almost like a sunk costs thing where I was like, Tony has spent so much time molding this guy, and my mold fell apart again. Well, let me put it back together. Let me build it up. It's a little better this time. Oh, it fell apart again. Well, I build it up again, a little better this time. And so that caught me right out of left field. I did not expect him to murder Chris right there.
Yeah.
So that was a really intense scene. What else did I know? I didn't expect Syl to get shot up like that so unceremoniously right at the end, because it was almost like Syl, Paulie, and Tony were kind of quasi-untouchables, where it's like, all right, that's him, and then that's his little shield underneath him. Yeah, Consigliere or whatever it is.
Close to that, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, such a fantastic show. In a year or so, I'm going to rewatch that whole thing and probably pick up on more things. If there was a version of that show with every scene with AJ outside of season 1 where he's a funny fat kid cut out, it'd be a better show. I did not. Oh, something else that I kind of liked, kind of didn't like about the finale of The Sopranos was usually when you're watching a finale of a show, it's kind of understood within the context of the show that they're wrapping up, where it's like, all right, we're closing this, we're closing that, put a pin on this, done, wrapped up. In this, it was like, I know it's the final episode, but Tony's going around, everybody's going around as if it's just another day, making plans for things that won.
Things turned around and were going well, right? Tony came out of hiding, if I recall.
Someone killed that guy with absolutely no forehead whatsoever. and with the gray hair that starts like right at his eyebrows. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, we might win this. Like, we're gonna win this." That kind of positivity. But I kind of liked it, kind of didn't like it, of him like having the conversations with his son and like setting up for plans they're gonna do in the future. And oh, we're gonna do this business. Sil, you need to be on this. Paulie, you need to do that. And I don't know. It felt more realistic in a silly way, where it was like obviously a guy he doesn't know he's gonna die. He wouldn't be putting a pin in everything. Like it made it sadder knowing it was going to end, and he's just this. What? No, this is just Tuesday. This is just Tuesday. I'm just doing Tuesday things.
Some people put it as a bad ending because they didn't, tie a bow on all the little. To me, it was a great ending. I don't want every show to just not end well, but for a mobster show where the main character presumably gets shot like that, like perfect, nailed it.
Yeah, I think I see now why a lot of people think that's the best show of all time. Fantastic.
The Wire's good too. When I told you about The Wire, I was like, yeah, you really got to pay attention. It's difficult to keep up with The Wire. I think I'm on my second watching. I'm having a much easier time now. I'm like, why did I think this was so complex?
You got to get on The Office, man, before Peacock takes it away.
I've seen The Office enough, and I know it's one of your like rewatch shows.
Big time.
It's rare that I put that on as a rewatch show.
When you watch a show, Taylor, do you pay attention to it, or do you like watching shows you've seen so that you can come in and out of it?
Generally, it's like it's just background noise if I'm rewatching it. Like it's a Seinfeld season 2, episode 4. It's like, oh, I know every line in this one or whatever it is. And so like I'll be working on my computer, or I never listen to music when I'm exercising. Like I'll have old TV shows playing. So like even if it's like if I can't see the screen, it's Always Sunny playing. It's like I know exactly what's happening in this scene. Like I'm tracking with it. Or just old O&A.
I see.
Never gets old for me.
Yeah. My wife rewatches like that too. She's actually folding laundry or doing whatever wife thinks she's doing, and her
duties. Yeah.
Right. So she doesn't have to pay attention to the show. She can zone in and out and keep up with it.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Like every so often, like I'll sit down and rewatch full attention, like old King of the Hill, old Simpsons, old Family Guy, or whatever, just to be like, oh man, this was so fun. Oh, I was rewatching an old Simpsons, and it was like season 10, so it was like 1998, and they were making fun of like sci-fi cons, and they're like, tonight or at the new sci-fi con, it's the Babylon 5 tough robots versus the Star Wars gay robots. It's just the huge robots, and you're both like, Atu, please help. I'm being defeated. And he's just getting kicked out of it. But like today, the Simpsons would never make a joke like versus the gay robots. Like they just wouldn't say that. It was funny to hear like, wow, season 10 of The Simpsons was still making jokes that you couldn't get away with today.
I'm rewatching The Sopranos for God knows how many times now. And I pay really close attention because I'm always finding new jokes that I missed the first time through. Because Tony's got a lot of good jokes that can like really slide like by you if you're not paying really close attention to what he's saying. All the characters do. They're really well written. My favorite Tony Soprano line ever though is when they're talking about when Meadow was dating the black kid. He was like half black and half Jewish. And Tony calls him Jamal Ginsburg, the Hasidic homeboy.
The fuck, you gonna bring home Jamal Ginsburg, some fucking homeboy?
Hasidic homeboy.
Hasidic homeboy.
It's like such a good line. It's like way too smart for Tony. Like he didn't know what a Hasid was like until like the season 1 because they have to go. They deal with some Hasidic Jews, but like it's still just fucking hilarious.
I remember. Yeah, he has a hard time doing business with them, right? Like they don't want to pay or something.
The father hires Tony because his son-in-law will not give his daughter a divorce, and the son-in-law wants money. He wants a get to agree to the divorce, and so he's telling Tony, if you can get him to do this, I'll give you money. And so they end up kidnapping this man and beating him for hours, and he's still just like, no, I'm not doing it. I've got principles. Like I put money and time into this. Kill me if you want to. And they're like, yeah, this guy's tough as nails. If we don't end up killing him, we got to put him on the payroll. like he's so tough. And finally, Tony calls his own Jewish friend, and the guy's like, I told you not to get in business with these people. They're extremists. And he's like, maybe he's ready to go to the afterlife, Tony, but I know one thing: no man wants to live without. And Tony's like, what? Oh, hey, Paulie, go to my trunk and get the bolt cutters.
He's like, I know you don't want to talk, but I'm going to cut your cock off. If you
I'm
don't
gonna cut your cock off if you don't give this girl her divorce.
How does it resolve?
The guy gives the divorce. However, the
Immediately.
father is upset with the way they got the results, because Tony threatened to cut this guy's dick off, and he finds that to be like dishonorable, and he tries to go back on the deal, but Tony will not allow that, and Tony ends up essentially owning the hotel that they were in dispute over the whole time. So like,
and wasn't that guy's son like the older Jewish guy who hired Tony, his son being like, "You've created the golem. You've created the golem, and we can no longer control it."
Like the
And then
rabbi in the story.
They come in there and they fuck with that son, and he's like, "Well, who are you? The Romans are gone, and the Jews still survive." And they're like, "Romans are right fucking here. You're looking at him." And he's like screaming at him.
Yeah, he tells him the story of Masada, and,
Yeah.
and he's just like, "Yeah, where are the Romans now?" I'm like, "You're looking at them."
It's like, oh well, in that case, I apologize.
Yeah,
That was.
fucking love.
I need to rewatch Sopranos again. I guess it was only a year ago I watched it for the first time, but it's a very dense show. I can see how you rewatching it like 6 times, 7 times, you're still picking up new stuff.
I'm still picking up these little jokes that they tell, and lots of stuff like that. I wish I had just like today. I caught 2 jokes that I'd never caught before that were really fucking funny. I can't remember what they were, but like, there's the dialogue so dense in there at times. It seems like it's just a bunch of gangsters shooting the shit, but they're oftentimes like slipping these little insults and like poking each other in like these mean ways that if
His
you catch
mom-
it, it's really funny.
Like Tony's mom's character is up there. Actually, I won't even say up there. Is better than Joffrey or Ramsay as a hateable character.
She is
Wow.
She
top
plays that
3.
part so well.
It is a show about gangsters, sociopaths, murderers, lecherous pieces of human shit, organized criminals.
Mhm.
And she is literally, no joke, the worst person in that whole show. She is evil incarnate. She has 0 redeeming qualities. She is nothing but hate and vitriol and just pettiness. And it's like, when she finally goes, it's like, man, I wish it had hurt. I wish that I wish that like somebody had
I wish
killed
they
her.
punished her.
Yeah,
But
she
no.
she never got, she died in real life. That's why they had to write her out of the show.
Really?
Yeah, if you go to the last episode she's in, she is CGI.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you want it. Honestly, I didn't notice it until I read about it, a few years after the fact. But now it's just, oh, that looks like shit. Now that I know, because they take her head from like previous episodes and they superimpose it on an actress's body, and everything she says is something she's already said. And when you've seen the show 6 times, like I have, every single episode, some of the episodes 8, 10 times, like my favorites, it's like, oh, I've heard her say this. She said that to Junior in season 2. I remember these lines.
I remember thinking, and I've only watched it once, but getting such a kick out of the when Uncle Junior said like, "You never had the makings of a varsity athlete."
Yeah.
and like for some reason that like hit
It hurt him so much.
some like formative element of his personality that just struck it like a perfect little arrow, and it resonated, and it was funny because it's like there are things like that. And
He's like, I remember when you dropped that fly ball in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I couldn't face my friends.
It's my friend. You never had the makings of a varsity athlete. What are you talking about? I know the makings of a varsity athlete. Like, he's getting all
He's like,
into
It's
I
not true,
lettered in
you know.
football. Not in college, you didn't. College? Those guys were 6'6". He's talking about lettering in college ball. Like, what the fuck?
But for some reason, Tony takes such offense to Uncle Junior saying that and that's probably because for his entire life, the only like true masculine person he had in his life as like a role model was Junior. you know, like, and so hearing like a little passive remark like that, even from I think at the time he said that he was like not totally senile, but like on that path there. And senile Uncle Junior was a little sad.
Yeah, he gets and they play it really well. Like the downward spiral is gradual. You know, you slowly start to see him lose his marbles. They did it really well. He's a good actor.
When I like the whole storyline of like Tony imagining like a sexy Italian woman across the way hanging laundry.
Yeah,
and like he imagines all these scenarios with Carmela and everything. Now we're just describing poorly scenarios in.
I watched my favorite episode of all time today. It's called The Pine Barrens, and it is the episode where Christopher and Paulie take the Russian out to the Pine Barrens to murder him, and it turns out that he is a Russian Green Beret. You know, he was a member of the Interior Ministry, and he killed 16 Czechoslovakians single-handedly, as Tony put it. No, as Paulie put it. They were Chechens. Like Tony's like. Tony's like, you don't understand. You're dealing with a Russian Green Beret. Some kind of a Russian Green Beret. He was in the Interior Ministry. He killed 16 Chechens single-handed. And Paulie gets off the phone and looks at Christopher and he goes, "This apparently he's an interior decorator. He killed 16 Czechoslovakians." And Christopher goes, "Really? His apartment looked like shit."
And then like they're in that like shitty snowmobile thing later, and Paulie's getting furious because Chris won't share his like tomato sauce packet, his ketchup packet.
It's the other way around. Chris does share. Chris is like, "Oh, I found some ketchup packets," and he like gives half to Paulie, and Paulie's like, "Yeah, mix it with the relish. It's pretty good." And then like later on, Christopher looks over and Paulie's got Tic Tacs. He's like, "Are those Tic Tacs?" It's like, "Yeah, give me one. I hate them all." Like he's eaten all the goddamn Tic Tacs. He's hoarded them for himself. Paulie's a real piece of shit.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he's very funny, but he's a piece of shit.
Why does Paulie stand out as a piece of shit amongst all the Sopranos?
Paulie is more out for himself than anyone, and that's why he is as old as he is and has still like survived this long. Like he turns on Tony like to like side with New York when he's being manipulated by Johnny Sack at one point, and then at the very end of the show when the war has come with New York, he just leaves. He just drives out of town. Meanwhile, like Syl and Bobby Bacalieri and like everybody else is like down to fight with Tony. Like even if they're not like even if they're not all that tight with him, they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fight for my boss." You know, everybody.
Yeah.
Even Benny, like everybody's there to fight with Tony, and Paulie literally drives away.
Of his whole crew, like Bobby Bacalieri might be my favorite one because he seemed to be the most of a genuine good guy who was wrapped up in this, and it was like, this is just my lifestyle now. But like he was always trying to be good about it, like skirting little rules, like not being as severe as Tony was hoping. So
didn't have a Gumar.
Yeah, didn't have a Gumar. Is the only one without a Gumar. And like, so when he died, like, and also not even when he died, the scene where like I could tell the building where he and Tony were going to get in a fist fight. I was like, "Oh, just keep enjoying playing your game, please. I don't want to see Tony and Bobby Bacalieri get mad at each other. They're my favorite characters." And then Bobby beats the fucking shit out of Tony.
Only because Tony slipped on that rug. If you watch it,
only because
Tony wasn't kidding.
Rug. Yeah,
yeah. If you watch it, Tony really does. Tony's getting the best of him, and then he does slip on the rug, and then things turn the other way.
The next morning, they're just
Tony seemed out for himself too. Like,
Tony is always out for himself.
I know, but
Tony
you called out Paulie as more out for himself than everyone else. But I'm not.
Well, Tony's the boss. You know, like Tony's
the boss can be looking out for his people. The boss can be making sure that like this is a successful enterprise. A lot of times, looking out for number two when you're number one is the way to ensure that your number twos are loyal. And he turned the screws a whole lot, and he killed his nephew and.
He killed the nephew because the nephew was a loose cannon. He was endangering everyone. And what really triggered Tony, because Tony's a sociopath, and they touch on this a bit. Sociopaths have most of their actual like loving like human feelings are directed toward babies and animals. And if you pay attention to Tony, Those are the things he loves. And when he looked in the back and he saw that limb had went through the window and into the baby's car seat, even, the baby wasn't there, but he saw the potential for like Chris's behavior is going to kill that baby.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was it. Chris has got to die right now.
I thought
I hated that.
He never did hook up with Chris's wife, did he?
Never.
No.
But he was about to.
He was very tempted.
He was, didn't he get interrupted? Am I right about that?
No, they were driving together to go get her some cocaine, and they had a car accident.
Was there not a time they were about to hook up in some back room, maybe in the Bada Bing?
I think it was them doing cocaine together, and it was more like a cut shot of showing Tony like staring at her ass or something. But
they were in the back of the Crazy Horse.
Actual thing where
they had a little bit of a moment in the back of the Crazy Horse, which was her club. But he never actually it never went anywhere. He was clearly like down. He's not a good guy, Tony. He's a very flawed character. Too. Oh yeah, she was pretty down too. Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters ever. He's great. He's so flawed, and he's much like Bobby. Like Tony kind of got swept into this thing. He kind of took the path of least resistance, but every now and then you see this glimmer of like a good man on the inside that has been corrupted and is just stuck. You know, when he chooses not to kill the soccer coach who had sex with the underage girl on Meadows' soccer team. He comes home all drunk and he's like crying almost to Carmela. He's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything bad. I didn't do anything. He's having a moment there where like for once he didn't, he didn't murder a man for, something. That's one of his best moments, I think.
I liked his wife a lot.
Carmela.
I thought she was pretty loyal.
Very loyal. She did cheat on him.
Yeah.
Well,
she was gonna
with a wallpaper man.
But he cheated a lot, and I think she knew that at that point. And she hid some money from him, but he wasn't doing enough to provide for her security.
Well, as far as she knew, he was always doing more than enough to provide for her future. But he couldn't tell her because she'd be an accessory after the fact, and she can't understand that for some reason. So she secretly invested $50,000 that was hidden in the bird feeder.
50 grand is not going to get you too far, Camilla.
He's like, what's it earning? 1%?
It's just
it's a good show. It's a really good show, and it holds up pretty well. Like you could watch it now, and sure, it's dated a touch, but it's good. It's good.
I was going to say I've never seen it. So.
Oh, dude, you should said something. We wouldn't have spoiled like 18 plot points. It's a great show, one of the best ever.
And so 7 is where like most really good shows fall for me. Like I felt like Vikings is a 7.
I
feel
know
like
you really like The Sopranos. Is it better than Game of Thrones to you?
No, okay, and it hasn't aged all that well. And I've seen all of Sopranos probably 4, maybe 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely seen some episodes 5 or 6 times. The acting is
why would you say it hasn't aged well?
Some of the fight scenes all of the fight scenes are kind of hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch like the violence that's being done, they're very poorly choreographed. The sound effects that are used can come off a bit cheesy if you really pay attention, and that's not good in a show where the way you're sold on certain characters being the tough guy or the intimidator is their physical prowess and what they will do to you if.
Can I jump in? I find that to be true with a lot of mob movies. Like that, for some reason, mobsters don't have to look really badass, right? Joe Pesci's a tough guy in mob movies. I could beat up Joe Pesci. Guy's like 5'0". Oftentimes there's a tough guy in the mob who is 300 pounds overweight, right? And in real life, that guy can't be that imposing, right? He would just be exhausted immediately. And a lot of mobsters who are tough are also old, like over 55, over 60. And you're just like, man, are you telling me that guy hasn't lost a step? He must.
I'm talking about something a little different than that, though, because like often I get what you're saying and I agree with it 100%. But like the thing that makes like Paulie Walnuts scary isn't that isn't that we can step into a ring and he's going to outbox me or he's going to out-grapple me on the ground at like 60, whatever he was toward the end. It's that Paulie's going to show up with three things. Paulie's going to show up with a buddy, Paulie's going to show up with a pipe, and Paulie's going to show up with a 1911. His buddy's going to be watching him while he breaks your kneecap with that pipe, because that's his first move. He doesn't talk to you. Like, I'm thinking of a specific scene. He walks up to the guy, immediately like breaks his knee with the pipe. The guy's on the ground crying. Then he pulls the pistol out and puts it in his face and says, "Look, I get $5,000 a week, every week. And if Tony ever hears about this, I'm gonna fucking come back here and I'm gonna fucking shove this up your ass."
Is that guy in lawn care? He did it too.
No, that's a different guy. He was actually friends with that guy. He liked that guy. Right. It's a bit boring to go into, but it was basically the son of the guy who owned the garbage business that was Tony's tax return. That's how he was falsifying his income to make it look legit. And the guy who owned the business dies, leaves it to the son. The son wants to sell. Tony's in the hospital from his own shooting, so he can't really oversee the matter properly. And outside of Tony's supervision, the son sells the business. And so Paulie goes to that guy and roughs him up and like cuts himself into his own deal. And Paulie's scary because of that, because Paulie doesn't mind doing murder and extreme
typical
violence.
Mob thing too. In movies, I don't know real life, but in movies, a lot of times it's like, well, this guy might not look badass. Maybe half of the guys in your high school could beat him up, but they go from 0 to 100 instantly. They start off with a pen in their hand that they stick in your eye, and that's their opening volley. Whereas
that's why they're intimidating.
Yeah, whereas like most people's opening volley is a two-handed push to the chest.
Yeah, and he's backed up, right? It doesn't matter if you get through him. If you were to beat up Paulie, that would be the worst thing you could possibly do, because now like other guys are coming and they're going to really mean business when they show up. They're going to kill you when they get there, or they're going to cripple you. You know,
it's like the collective nature of the violence that makes it scary, where it's like, yeah, you might win this one fight with a fucking pen sticking out of your throat, but you know, Joey Two Hands and Frankie Fingers is coming for you tomorrow. Like, you're not going to survive.
Names. Everyone has 2 hands and fingers. Taylor one
Frankie
nose.
Fingers, he's got all of them so far.
It's absolutely no different than dealing with a police officer. We've all seen a police officer we could beat up, but how's that going to end for you?
The women ones.
like if you beat up this lady cop who's writing you the ticket, do you think that's all right? No ticket for me. No,
dude.
You're gonna get more tickets.
That happened in Raleigh. Like recently, did we watch the video together? I think we might have. It was a big, strong guy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. And there were 2 women and 2 men there. And the first man didn't beat him, but you get that. That's going to happen sometimes. It took 2 guys, but it looked like he fought off 4 people because 2 of them were girls.
And they had sticks. They were hitting him like full on with those batons, and he was absorbing it. He was a bad.
They shot him with a taser.
I mean, he's probably on PCP or something.
Well, the thing about whenever you see someone taking a taser, it's because it didn't work. Like, nobody absorbs a taser because it's not a matter of like.
Can it work partially? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it can work partially. You can have a clothing disconnect where one of the barbs maybe goes through your shirt and sticks in your chest, in your flesh, in your chest, and the other one just penetrates your pants leg. And so it's arcing from the inside of your pants leg to your leg, like there's an arc there. But if both barbs are in you, no one can resist that. Like, it doesn't matter if they're on some drug. It doesn't matter if they're really muscular. That's actually worse. If you're the bigger and more muscular you are, the more effective the taser is against you.
The other thing I've heard, though, is the thing about a taser is the second it turns off, you're okay again. Right? Whereas like pepper spray, for example, the second I stop spraying, you still have a problem, right? You've got pepper spray all over you.
You can fight through the pepper spray. You might be blind doing it, but you can absolutely battle through it. The thing about the taser, you just pull the trigger again. And again.
If it's still in, yeah.
Yeah, it's rare that they actually get it out. It's weird and hard to like get it. There's so much like loose slack that you might grab it and pull, and your arm length isn't even enough to like get it out of you. You have to get the barb out, and
it's like a spider web almost. Like it's just so much. Yeah.
Yeah. When I tased Jeremy, there was a clothing disconnect, so he wasn't, but still, it crippled his ass, and he was crying afterwards. You know, he was all teared up and a little upset because he didn't know I was going to hit him that second time. But my adrenaline was going so much in that moment that 5 seconds from the first volley felt like 1 second. I was like, this is terrible. We got no footage here. I felt like 1 second of video. I got to hit him again. And so gave him a 10-second ride, which is just brutal. Just brutal. He got paid.
And like I read a comment online about this. This is a side thing on The Sopranos. It took me until now to realize like all the times Artie is like, they're like, I want the fucking whatever the hell, the Maniscot or whatever, and Artie's like, no, not that. I've got something perfect for you, right in the back, fresh. You're gonna love it, right from fucking whatever he says. And then he's just like taking leftovers from other plates because he doesn't want to spend the money, or like taking cheap ingredients and making a dish because he doesn't want to go to the main menu. You know what I mean?
Is that what he's really doing?
Yeah, because like there was that scene where like he's like, oh, this is called whatever the other burrata. This is burrata cheese. It's like mozzarella, but it's a little more mild. And then these green beans are special. And so he like gives them that. And then the one woman's like, oh, I'm not gonna get this. I'm gonna order that. And he just like avoids her, just like won't come back and take a.
No, I think that's about Artie is trying to. That's Artie's idea of expanding and like coming up with a new thing, because that young hotshot waiter is taking all of his business. Even Tony has gone there, and Tony has to admit that this guy blows Artie out of the water. I can't believe this. And so that's Artie's way of, hey, I'm trying a new thing. We've got burrata. But then she eats it and she's like, it's string beans and mozzarella. That's all this fucking is. Meanwhile, this young guy over here is like some kind of mastermind. I don't know. They didn't really show what he was cooking, but that's what I saw from that. I love The Sopranos. I haven't rewatched it in I don't know, maybe a year. I'm gonna wait a while this time. I saw Paulie died the other day.
Yeah. R.I.P. in real life.
R.I.P. in real life. Yeah. Well, he survived in the show.
Spoiler. Paulie's the one that had the
wings,
hair, and he had good biceps too.
He did. One of my favorite Paulie scenes, there's a lot of them, but it's when Tony sort of corners him on the boat in the final season. And he's like, you're the one that let that out about the Johnny Sack joke, right? Nah, Tony, no. Nah, come on. It's not even a big deal anymore. You could tell me. You're the one that did it, right? No, Tone. Frankly, I'm offended that you'd even say something like that. Come on. I know it was you, Paulie. Just admit it. Come on. And meanwhile, Tony is going to kill him if he admits it. That's the beauty of that scene. Because even when he frankly, Tone, I'm offended you'd even say something like that, and like ends the conversation, Tone is looking at every weapon, every deadly weapon that's around him on that boat. There's there's this big knife they're cutting bait up with. There's this I don't know, bat over here they're like killing fish with. And he's thinking about killing Paulie right then and there, because Paulie's got a big fucking mouth. He's seeing it right now. He just saw it yesterday, him blabber mouthing to some random girl. And he's almost sure that Paulie was the one who told about that joke. And that created such a clusterfuck. And he did, of course. He was, of course, the one who did it.
He did, yeah.
One problem that's common across mob movies is the tough guys wouldn't be tough guys. There are people who are literally like 215 pounds overweight who are tough guys. There are people like Tony who can't beat Paulie. There are like Joe Pesci, one of the toughest guys in mob movies. Joe Pesci, I want to get all. I could beat up Joe Pesci. He's like 5'5",
pretty old.
He's 80. Fuck that guy up.
You know what? I'm not gonna be modest. I'd fuck up Joe Pesci.
How many Joe Pescis could you take in a fight?
Yeah. So, but like they take a Joe Pesci or this guy, and they just stack rank them wrong. Why can't tough guys be tough? Why can't?
All right. I got a tough guy here who was actually in the mob. This guy's name is Primo Casarino. Now, one of the things he did was extort Steven Seagal out of about $400,000.
Nice.
So he was hired by a movie producer, if I remember the story correctly. I may be slightly off with the title. We asked the guy what movie producers do. This is what they do. This movie producer had a deal with Steven Seagal to make, one of those multi-picture deals. Steven's guru says, you really shouldn't be making these violent movies. Goes against your whole mantra, your whole code. And he's like, yes, no more killing in my films. And this guy's like, dude, you break people apart in every movie. That's your thing. You kill 30 people a movie. We make 25 million a movie. That's what we do here.
Mhm.
Now I'm not going to kill anymore. So this guy he calls up his mob buddy, this gentleman whatever his name is, and says, put the screws to Steven Seagal. He doesn't want to play ball. Well,
What's
he
his
not
name?
only puts the screw, his
Primo-
name is, I got him like
Casto-
minimized. Primo Casarino. Awesome.
Are you
man.
looking at him on your computer?
I pulled up his Wikipedia.
Okay.
He doesn't have a photo on his Wikipedia.
I mean, if you like Google image search him,
Yeah,
I can,
yeah.
I can-
Taylor,
but
can you
anyway,
put a link in?
But anyway, they kidnap Steven Seagal and threaten him and eventually, not only does they make Steven Seagal do the movies, but he has to give the mobsters $400,000 for their trouble, and he gave it to them. And like they caught this guy talking about it to his buddies afterwards on a wiretap, and they were laughing at what a pussy Steven Seagal was. And Primo says, "I only wish I had a gun so I could have put in his face like they do in the movies." So this is like a real tough guy.
He is tough looking too.
Yeah. He's filling out that Nautica jacket.
Sure is.
Yeah, that's a scary looking dude.
Although I must say, the guy behind him and to the left, also a very large looking man. He's further back, but he looks bigger. Think about that.
yeah,
And he also looks Italian. Maybe he's some other mobster.
does he have cuffs on? I can't.
I
tell.
don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. You can't tell. Well, his hands are close
Hard to
together.
Yeah.
Who knows? In any case,
So this guy extorted Steven Seagal.
yeah, I think with this mobster thing is like they're not threatening to have a fist fight with you. They're threatening to kill you, and they may not even mean right now. They're threatening to like come back tonight. Maybe they start a little fire. I mean, when you come out to the fire, remember, that's what they did in The Sopranos. If you think about what they actually did when they want somebody to do their thing, when Robert Patrick's character Davey owes Tony the gambling debt, they start a fire and his dumpster's outside at night. He runs outside in his underwear to put out his dumpster fire, and now two goons have him cornered in an alley, and they're like, "You gonna pay the money? You gonna pay the money?" There's not fisticuffs time. There's no winning that fight. If you started beating them both up, they'd pull out a gun or a knife or a club. They're going to escalate to murder. That's where they're headed. They stop it. They don't stop it anywhere. And you, on the other hand, are like, man, I really just want y'all to leave me alone. I can't just beat you up and then you'll tell the other guys how tough I am. No, we tell them you need to die now.
It's like, no, we're an organized crime, and we'll send more guys. And we don't think you're gonna have your head on a swivel 24/7.
You know what it's like? Here's the perfect example, if this makes sense. I like drawing these like comparisons between things sometimes. It's like thinking the cops aren't scary because the cop looks like a pussy. Look at that cop.
That's a good
I
one.
could whoop his fucking ass. Why are people so afraid of the cops? I could beat the shit out of that cop. Yeah, let's see how that one goes over.
Yeah.